Welcome to my weekly review. Today is Saturday, August 16th. You're looking at a daily chart of the Nasdaq. I know this is a weekly review, but I just wanted to show you the daily and how it keeps melting up. On Friday, it was down 87 points or 0.4%, closed at 21,622, but made a new high last week of 21,803 on Wednesday. And if you want to take a look at the weekly. I'll get to that. And I want to point out, I have it on the 8 EMA. It's 2% above the 21 and 5.2% above its 50 simple moving average. And I'm going to switch this to the 5 because a lot of leading stocks are surfing their 5. And that's what I want to look at, the stronger stocks trending higher. There's the NASDAQ last week up 173 points, 0.81%. So another strong week for the Nasdaq, continued to just grind higher. We saw a lot of rotation last week, a lot of choppiness. The stuff that was working didn't work last week, and the stuff that wasn't working. And that's the lifeblood of a bull market, this rotation where everybody gets a little bit of love, every little sector gets a little bit of love from time to time. But, the main themes obviously are artificial intelligence and crypto and flying stuff like drones and now that the market is starting to anticipate a rate cut, the IWM is starting to perk up. It was up 3% last week. If you don't want to buy the IWM, I don't blame you. That's a nice cup with handle pattern and a breakout last week. I would prefer for the adrenaline junkies a little TNA, right? Who doesn't like a little TNA? We all do. Keith Richards wrote a song about it. The Rolling Stones played it, Little TNA. Great little tune. Check it out. But that would be the one that if you're adrenaline junkie, like I am sometime, I talk out of both sides of my mouth. I like to be conservative and then I like stuff that moves. Anyway, above 38, it's go time for the TNA. All right. I'm going to get out of the indexes and move on. This week, I'm just going to go through some earnings reports from last week. And then I'm going to go through some themes and then, some news related items. And then what else do we have? Oh, earnings next week. All right, so let's get to last week. Monday reported on Monday, laid an egg. The stock crashed, cratered. I mean, I don't know if you want to call that a crash, but that hurts your portfolio when it's down, what, 20, was it 29%? Yeah, 30% in a day. And so let's take a look at the weekly. Yeah, it's like, whoops, I was trending one way and now we're going the other way. So that would be a trend breaker for Monday. Barrick Mining reported the gold stocks have been really strong, one of the strongest groups here. It's the second top performing group. This is rankings, but I go by performance because that's what pays the bills. This is Barrick Mining. They switched their ticker symbol to just B. Nice response, and just had this little consolidation pattern ahead of the print, and as things in a nice trend, as are most of the gold stocks, which I will get to, later in the themes. This is Franco Nevada, and you're wondering why all the gold stocks are trading higher, and this one's consolidating in a base on base pattern. Let's see what that looks like on the weekly. And there you go, base on base. Now near that standard buy point or the trigger at 180. ASTS reported, it's selling off. This thing, I don't know what to say here. I know there's a lot of people pumping this thing, but for me, it's a kind of like a shot in the dark. You gotta, it's speculative play. How shall I say that? Kind of speculation that, they're going to succeed. Still losing money. Hard for me to get, really a lot of conviction in that one. And put a lot of my hard-earned cash into it. Circle, they reported, then had a secondary offering. To me, this is just a big avoid. This one needs more time, and I don't like the secondary so soon after they went public. Liquidia, this is a medical biotech stock. Very nice move. Making new highs. Yeah, that's a nice breakout. Thank you very much. 27% move. Yeah, that'll help your portfolio. SE, this is one that just secretly is quietly good. They reported earnings and popped 19%, and it's one of these ones on my this is another video that I'm going to make of these power earnings gaps because we've had a lot of them again this week. So I'll review some of the prior power earnings gaps, which are looking like high tight flags, and then some of the ones that we had last week, including SE. LITE. LITE is another one that had a nice move trending higher. There you can see made a new high, then pulled back, and it's flat on the week. Very strong stock and a pretty decent group there. What else? Oh, CAVA. CAVA laid an egg. When their same store sales are, supposed to be 8%, and you come in and guide to 2, that's no bueno. So it's adios, muchachos. Core we reported last week. And I tell you, the cores is the key for this stock for me. If this thing starts moving, then that tells you that Wall Street has confidence in the CoreWeave stock. Until then, I'm not touching that thing. Eat or Brinker International, the Chili's Maggiano's chain. This has just been a really tough group. It's the retail restaurant, the Wall Street believes that the consumer is slowing, and it's probably true. These stocks are just not going to get much love, I don't think, for a while. GLBE. It's an Israel-based company, reported earnings, and you can see it's in a kind of like a stage 4 decline. Like, oops, we had a good, nice run there, didn't we? And then now it's, trying to stage this stage 1 base there. So that's hands off for a while. DLO, this is another one that's going to be on the power earnings gap, just broke out of this base here after reporting earnings. So it had a nice move on Thursday of 31%, followed it up on Friday of 2%. So you'd think there'd be profit takers on a Friday, but this one, yeah, looks pretty darn good. Let's take a look on the weekly on that breakout. That's just a clean breakout out of a stage 1 base there. That looks fantastic. For DLO, COHR, God, I hate doing this negative. Yeah, I'm sorry if you own this one down to the 200. INU had a nice report, and a nice response there, up 9%. TMC, the metals company, is another one of these speculative plays. It probably got a little bit ahead of itself. Had a poor reaction to, weak earnings. And then Applied Materials, you knew when they reported that quarter and guidance that the tech complex would be down on Friday. That was just a stinker of a report. Down 14%, well deserved with that kind of guidance. And I know the CEOs like to sandbag and they say that it's non-linear growth and the demand is lumpy and tariffs and blah blah blah. The street doesn't care. Don't tell me about the labor pains, just show me the baby. And these guys, just talking about the labor pains, we don't want to hear it, so it sold off. That's the way it goes. All right. I'm going to get to some stocks that people have been asking me about a lot, and this one get a lot of questions about, because there's not a lot of confidence in this one because I don't know what it is. These guys just did a 4.5 billion offering, and there was so much demand that they added another, 20 billion. So that's a lot of supply added to this thing. But if you take a look at the weekly chart, you can see that this patient was dead. If this was like, your EKG, then you say, the patient has a heartbeat. Yeah, it was up a ton, right, in a week. 130 points. So it has a heartbeat, but since then it's consolidated in a base kind of nicely, calmed down a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks of basing, added supply. So it was down the last 3 sessions, pulled back, to its 5 EMA. That's fine. I think it went down to its 8, that's why I had it on the 8 EMA. That's right. Yeah, it was a 54.10 was the 8. So it pulled back right to it, just almost to the penny. And bounced slightly on Friday. This one's going to take some time with so many eyeballs on it. I just, yeah, it hit 71 last week and then pulled back. But there you go. There's the move lower. Here's 54. What was it? 54. 78. Yeah, so what did it close at? 57. Is that a bottom? I don't know. It'll probably retest that 54.10 level that it made, and that would be the weekly low from last week, 54.10. So that'd be a number where I would expect it to retest, find support, shake some fools out before moving higher. Yeah, that's a nice little, wedge or a handle or whatever. It needs a few more days though. That's why I say I think it's going to retest. One thing to take note of is the management owns 20%, and you think, oh, that's great. Management, strong hands, right? No. Management's going to dump at some point. They're going to sell. So, yeah, you don't want to be holding when they start dumping it. So that's one thing that Peter Lynch always talked about. These uh, companies that are heavily owned by management, they're going to sell out and you're going to be left holding the bag, which reminds me of this one as I digress. This one's got 92% ownership, new egg in EGG. This one is just a, this one you got to be careful with. It moved a lot. Yeah, it was down 21% on Friday, but it's still up 26% for the week. This thing is just a bucking bronco. Is it done going up? Probably not. On Friday it just filled that gap there from the move on Thursday, where the high was 98.45 and the low on Thursday was 101.92. So on Friday it came back and filled the gap, pulled back to the five and bounce. I don't think this one's done, but I digress. That's not one of the ones that I've been asked about. Well, maybe a couple people. Sharp Link. This is so BMNR, the Tom Lee stock. That's I think is the go-to Ethereum play. Looking at this one, I think this would be like and shouldn't say a laggard, but if you're going to own one of these, you got to know what you own, first of all. These are wild stocks. And second of all, you want to own the best one, which I think is BMNR. I could be wrong. I am often wrong, but rarely in doubt. Another crypto name, Robinhood. This one made that high of 130, 113.44, pulled back to the 21, found support. Looked like it was going to ramp up, but then on, what was it, Wednesday? It undercut the five. So I trimmed some, right? And then it found support at the 21 on Thursday. So I bought it back because it bounced. If I look at this correctly, yeah, there's your Thursday move, right? There's your Wednesday move. Here's your Thursday move where it drops lower. So once it found support at the 21, I bought it back. When I buy back, I buy more. I think this is the one of the go-to stocks that for me, I must own, but so I bought more of it back. I do that when I get shaken out, I buy more back. Second time it's kind of like doing push-ups. Instead of doing push-ups, I buy more. So that's just me. All right, that's it for the crypto names. I got to get to these networkers. Once again, I've just been asked. So I'm going through some stocks that I've been asked about. And there's nothing, nothing to say about this stock. If you're holding it, just hold it. It's finding support at the 21 consistently, right? Since the breakout, boom, came back one time, found support, came back two times, found support, three times, four times. So as long as it stays above the 21, that's your guardrail right there. For the person who asked me about this, I forgot who it was, but you can see it's trending higher. And then, you ride that trend till it bends at the end. The trend is your friend. How many other stupid sayings can I come up with or copy? This is Arista Networks. Had a big move the prior week, like a lot of AI stocks did, and then pulled back a little bit last week. So, yeah, it was up 18% 2 weeks ago, and then last week gave back one. So 18 to 1, I think we'll take that ratio. Definitely one to watch with, this kind of a move. People call this a high tide flag. I don't get into that. A pattern is a pattern. I don't care what you want to call it. If you want to call this a high tide flag, go ahead. It is flagging a little bit here. Might need a little bit more time, but yeah, that's on the daily. You could probably see it a little better. Yeah, nice little pattern there for Arista Networks. All right, the next one is Extreme Network. So the networking group is doing better. I mean, there's three strong stocks that I'm showing you here, and this one broke out the prior week, like 2 weeks ago, right? And then it's kind of having this flag type pattern. Yeah, I made a high there at 21.35, a 14% move. We like a 14% move, right? And then what is it doing? It's just kind of consolidating here, just flagging, you got to look at the weekly chart. Yeah, that's a nice strong breakout. So if you're a breakout trader, that's one to look at. I prefer to own the strongest stocks in the group, and I think Arista Networks is the leader. But CALX, if I was asked about that, if you own that, it looks fantastic. All right. I talked about rotation at the top, and I'm just going to get to this a little bit here. Some of the strong stocks sold off last week. Big deal, right? Palantir was up the prior week following their earnings report on that Monday. It really popped hard, 21%. So it gave back five last week, 21 to 5. That's a great ratio. Just had an inside week here. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. No, it didn't. 187.99 to 190 was the high. Anyway, in spirit, how about that? But there's nothing wrong with Palantir. Even you can see this clearly. I mean, if kindergartner could figure this out, I mean, it's just trending higher, right? And you ride that trend till it bends at the end. And these are strong stocks. They're not going to go up every day or every week, okay? But if you bought this thing, last week thinking, oh man, we're just going to keep riding higher to 200, well, you probably will, but you're down 5% now because you're chasing, right? You're chasing that performance from the prior week. And I liken this to, when you're on the freeway and your lane is stopped and the lane next to you is moving and you get in that lane that's moving and guess what? Then that lane stops and the lane you were in starts moving. So you just kind of got to hold your ground here. Unless they break trend, unless they slice moving averages, unless you're down more than 4 or 5%, there's nothing to do here. Tap the brakes, just, cruise on down the road. There's nothing wrong with these stocks. This one pulled back to the 50 on Friday. I think that's probably a gift right there for the first time since breaking out from this base. So yeah, that was a wild move on Friday. And you get this on the options expiration Fridays, you get this wonky wild action um, due to the options expiration. But to me, it's kind of like when it went to 150 right there. That's an anomaly, right? It just came right back to trend, right? Well, here it went to the downside, probably going to come back to trend because it's trending this way. Now, if it slices to 50 with volume next week, then it's adios muchachos. But if you've been riding this thing, I don't think it's done anything wrong. And yeah, I know it sliced to 21 and pulled back to the 50, and it was down 6% on Friday, but let's just watch this one next week. My instincts or my intuition that my gut tells me it's just going to go back to trend. But yeah, they did sell off last week really hard. So did CLS pull back to the 21. A lot of these leaders that I have on my list there, I was noticing that just about every one of these ones pulled back, 4, 5, 6%. And just what do they call it? Reversion to the mean, right? They're not going to go up every week. They're not going to go up every day. So like I said, just got to kind of hang with them for a little bit. STRL, this is when I got shaken out of. Bought it, chasing performance. It was up, about under 300. It went up above, yippee-ki-yay, I'm a hero. And then it says, nope, I'm pulling back to the 21. So you can't let a profit turn into a loss. So, but, it's done nothing wrong. You see consistently it finds support at the 21. This is one of the big winners from the last, I don't know, let's go back 5 years. See how Sterling is treated as, yeah, 1700%. It's even done better than the great NVIDIA, which gets all the, yeah, everybody talks about NVIDIA, but Sterling infrastructure is kicking its ass. All right, sorry for the language. App 11, this one had reported earnings a couple weeks ago, had a nice response, just pulled back last week. Again, a lot of these leaders just pulled back. I noticed on the options chain that they jacked up the premiums for Robinhood, MicroStrategy, and AppLovin, anticipating that they will be included in the next rebalance of the S&P 500, which is September 19th, I believe, September 15th, somewhere in there. I think out of those three, AppLovin has the best chance of getting in. Once again, not a reason to buy a stock because it's being included into the index, but if it does, it's probably going up 10%. If you like a 10% move, yeah, AppLovin's just been a really strong stock. CRDO, another one just pulled back last week. This is the part of the rotation, down 3%. Nothing wrong with this stock, still trending higher. They're just pulling back. That's all. Take profits, move it into another group, and that's how the bull market, thrives, right? Buy some of the, beaten down names. AU, one of these gold stocks. This is my favorite gold stock. This one was up 18% the prior week, 17%, and then gave back five, so 18 to 5 is pretty good ratio. Inside week here, above moving averages, trending higher. I think for the year, the past year, if I just go here, what is it? Yeah, it's up 73%. So, we'll take that. I know a lot of people don't like to buy commodities and gold. That's fine, but that one has done well. DoorDash, another leader pulling back more than 4% last week, which a lot of them did. These growth stocks, the AI stocks, these leading stocks just pulled back. Okay, so that's enough of that. I'm going to get out of that and go to some stocks that are really moving strong. Man, I wanted to buy this one on the breakout. I didn't. I thought it would pull back. I thought it would pull back, and it just got away from me. So instead of buying it, below 30, now it's at 39 and a half. I missed it, and I'm not going to chase performance, so I just got to move on to the next. Some people say, oh, that takes discipline, willpower. No, it's just, I've learned over the years that if I chase that, I'll get burned. I missed it. If you miss it, I think it was O'Neill who said there's the quick and the dead in the market. If you're not quick, you're going to be dead. So I'm not going to chase that stuff. I wasn't quick enough. I missed it. That's the way it goes. Move on to the next. Another one. Drug stock broke out here. This was on our power earnings cap 2 weeks ago. I'm going to make another one tomorrow, but just pulled back on Friday to its 5 EMA. So any stock breaking out, pulling back to the five. I know. We're going to hear it again. Oh, it's a high tide flag. It's okay. Whatever you want to call this stuff, it doesn't matter to me. I'm just looking at trends, okay? And if it's trending higher, I like it. If it's trending lower, I don't. So I try to keep it simple. This is INSM, INSMED. They had a FDA regulatory approval on Tuesday. The stock was halted for a little bit, had kind of a muted response. It's just kind of chugging higher. Yeah, it didn't have one of these big gaps, higher following the news. I believe it was Tuesday, the 12th, Tuesday morning. Yeah, it was up 17% last week. So a nice move for that drug stock. MIRM, another drug stock. I know people don't like gold, they don't like drugs, but I like moves. I like 13% moves, and you can see this is a clear breakout from a cup with handle 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I like drugs. I don't like taking drugs, but I like drug stocks. WGS, this is more of a diagnostic company, up 20% last week. Yeah, just moving higher, and plenty to like there. And I'm not saying go out and, buy all these. I'm just, observing the strength there in the biotech. The worm has turned here. A lot of these, the biotechs were getting hammered and now they're doing a lot better. Here's a clear breakout, up 11% last week for Insight. So another one to watch in that group. All right, that's it for the drugs. I'm going to go to this group that doesn't get talked about a lot. This, the building maintenance group. It's a really strong group, top six rank group. It's the second or third top performer. There's alternative energy, gold, and this is the third one. Rollins, yeah, pulled back a little bit here, 2% last week. IESC is the top performing one in this group, just pulling back gently on lighter volume to a moving average. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Made that high of 370. Looks okay. And the last one on this group, somebody asked me about this one. IBP, which I know nothing about. I just technically, this thing looks fantastic, right? Just consolidating in a base near a buy point, showing strength on the right side of that base. What does it move from 150 to 267 since May 23rd? So, yeah, I mean, it looks fantastic as it builds the right side of the base. You're seeing volume come in. That's probably an earnings move, but still, it's a nice breakout there. So that one looks good. If whoever asked me about that one, yeah. All systems go. All right, I'm going to move on because we talked about the, all right, maybe I didn't talk about it. All week I've been talking about the home builders as a tell, so is the IWM for lower interest rates. And the market's pricing in lower interest rates. If they don't get it, these things are going to get hammered. If we do get it, I think this is an area to monitor. And the market's going to price it in before it gets the news, right? This is NVR home builder building the right side of the base, very similar to DR Horton, where they traded through uh, the 50, the 200, and you can see the moving averages, the shorter term moving averages, the 5 and the 21 have traded through the 200, and now the 50 right there, this red line is trading through the 200. So that's telling you this thing's starting a trend higher as it builds the right side of the base. Like I say, if we don't get rate cuts, these things are going to get hammered. If we do, these things will probably continue to trend higher. Pulte Homes in this group. Oh, I know. Yeah. Buffett's Berkshire bought Lennar and DR Horton. So this one, you can see the 5 trading through the 200. So it's a little bit behind those others that I showed you because the um, the moving average, the shorter term moving average is now the 5, but the 50 is still way down here and the 21 hasn't traded through yet. So that's it for the home builders. A couple other ones in the news a lot. Buffett bought, so I'm just including this. UNH. if you're a feeder or bottom fisher, which I'm not, that's probably a low there as it reversed off the low. Nice move last week, 21%. This is one of the Dow Jones Industrial Average components. So it moved the Dow on Friday. It was up 12%. You know, nice move, but I'm not interested in that one. But if you are, you probably had a good week last week, and congratulations to you. Another one in this group, Humana, a little stronger than UNH. Um, yeah, that thing's looks like it's emerging from at stage one base, maybe starting this as stage two advanced phase. You want to see the 21 rally through the 200 and the 50, and then you've got a confirmation of an uptrend there. All right, what else are we doing here? That's it for that group. Oh, the solars ran on Friday once again, news related. If you're a bottom fisher, that one looks terrible. I think Solar Edge is a better one play here, up 17%. And First Solar, I had this one on my ready list a couple of weeks ago, but it just wasn't ready. And it sold off a little bit. There you see, and it kind of went sideways, and then news hits and it bounces off the 21. So congrats to the long. So those are all, power. They're like power earnings gaps, those gaps higher on news. Run. Sunrun, another one, popped 32%. Thank you very much on that news. Another group that I want to get to, a strong group. It's kind of related to the God robotics group. These things have been really strong. I got to go to the weekly on this. Yeah, LiDAR sensors, OUST, Ouster. Headquartered in San Francisco. And you can see this one's been in a really strong uptrend. You could call this, and once again, you can call it whatever you want. You can call that a high tide flag. Um, and then the move higher to new highs last week, up 34% last week. HSAI, another one. Yeah, just breaking out of consolidation last week, 13%. And AEVA, this was a big mover. And this is why, all the high tide flags don't always work out, folks. It's just a pattern, right? Had this big move, consolidated for a little bit. You think it's going to go higher, right? Yay, we're going higher. We're going to make new highs. And it's nope, adios, muchachos. Now it's made this low here and possibly, forming a bottom. And if you missed it at 38, maybe, you could buy it at 13 and take a swing at it, take a chance. But you could see the 521 cross below the 50 and the 50's curling lower. So, that's not the style that I have, but I know, there's many, many ways to make money in the market, the long side, the short side, bottom fishing, owning trends, buying leaders, all, whatever your style is, get a style, find a style, use that style, and don't be chasing the shiny stuff and changing lanes on the freeway. All right, that's my piece. SSRM, I got to go to the miners here because they're so strong. There's the three groups that I mentioned, the building maintenance, the gold, and the alternative energy. This one, big week last week, breakout 2 weeks ago. And then followed through last week, 10%. Yeah, there's your move. 26% move followed up last week. Very nice. And then AEM is another one. These gold stocks moved 2 weeks ago. It was up 8%, gave back one and a half, whatever. WPM, another one, same thing. It was up a lot the prior week. 2 weeks ago, up 9%, gave back six. So that's not a great ratio. All right. I'm going to move on. One more, Ego. This one was up 2 weeks ago, seven, almost 8%. And last week, followed up with a 1% move, Eldorado Gold. And then I did mention this group that's been super strong, and now it's pulled back the last couple of weeks. The Alternative Energy Group, this is GEV, hit that high of 677.29 and pulled back 2 weeks ago, up 1%. Last week, 4%. So, yeah, now below the 21. So there's another one that I had to trim. Just because when stocks pull back, there's a couple things you don't know. You don't know how low it's going to go and how long it's going to last. So you got to be careful here. This thing's up a lot and it could pull back to the 50 or even below it. It could find support at the 21, undercut and rally. Just got to wait and see with these. These have been really strong, but they're starting to, show some cracks here. This is LEU sliced to 50 last week, which, it's been the top one of the top performers in this group, and it's starting to crack. So you got to take note of that. Oak Low made the high a couple weeks ago, and now pulled back to the 21. So I'm just saying, folks, they'll probably find support at some point, but until they do, like I say, you don't know how low they're going to go or how long it's going to last. And I'm not trying to guess. I want confirmation of support, where they find support, where they bounce. All right, that's it for me. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up, except in honor of the great Steve Jobs. I have one more thing, a couple more things. One, Wolf last week broke out on news of a partnership with Google. So yeah, I'm not mentioning the Mag 7 today if you didn't notice. It was up 59% on Thursday. You think, oh, Friday there's going to be profit taking. It continued to rally higher, 3% on Friday. So 923 would be your, I don't know, your line in the sand. That would be an area above 923, blue skies, and definitely one to watch your 78% move. That's another one that's on my, well, it's a news related items, but I'm just going to call it a breakout, power earnings gap. But yeah, it's news related. That's okay. It's the move that matters, not the reason. And oh, the other one was Friday after the close. Novo Nordisk got FDA approval for Wegovy. It was up 7%. Wow. A lot of chasers last night. This one, I thought the bottom was at 80. Back here, was it the bottom? No. I thought the bottom was here at 57. Was that the bottom? No. Then last week, it came down to 47, I believe it was. Was that the bottom? Well, we don't know. And 45. So that's, this is why it's so hard for me to be a bottom fisher. You don't know where the bottom is, trending lower. But this is a fantastic company, folks. I mean, come on, it's delivering a company this size, delivering 20%, 22% sales growth, double digit 21% earnings growth. This is not a bad company. It's a broken company, and the CEO, the old CEO, was canned. And they got in this the deal with hims and hers, over, if they could sell their drug. And so there's litigation. And so if you're hims and hers, you don't want to be fighting these big behemoths like Lilly and Novo. They can crush you. But what these guys did at Novo is in the quarter, they just threw in the kitchen sink. Everything's bad, everything's horrible, lowered guidance. So when the new CEO reports next quarter, he's going to look like a champ, right? Because, oh, wow, that's better than expected. He's doing a magical job at Novo Nordisk. And that's just the way the game's played, folks. So, yeah, I think they're going to crush earnings. I think they're going to raise guidance in the next quarter, which looks like November 5th, which is not that far away. Um, so that's my story for Wegovy, and I'm sticking to it. It was approved for MASH, which I don't metabolic dysfunction associated steatohepatitis. So that's what the MASH is, the monster MASH. All right. Monday, earnings next week, we're going to hear from some companies. I'm just going to go through them. Palo Alto Networks, FN is electrical contracting manufacturing. The home builder Toll Brothers, the high-end homes. See how they're doing. Intuit, software payment company. Zoom, which has been a dog since the COVID days. Workday reports next week. Another software name. Software's just been absolutely hammered, and I don't think that'll change. Ross Stores reports. Retail's been really tough. Home Depot. So these big box retailers are reporting. Home Depot, Walmart reports next week. Target reports next week. Yeah, it's been kind of a rough go for these. And the cruise liner, Viking. Yeah, this one's been really strong. The boomers are out taking cruises. The European river cruises, Zim, the shipper, is reporting there was rumors or chatter that they were going to get bought out, and it jumped up one day and then came right back to trend. And then TJX has been kind of a stronger retail name. They report. And then Estee Lauder. Goodbye, folks. Thank you for watching at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up. So have a great weekend and thank you for watching. See you Monday.